My dad wouldn't go and buy tampons.
Right.
I always found that really odd because I thought the cashier's not going to think they're for you, Philip.
But I think the body confidence is such a massive thing, and social media has driven quite a lot of this.
I find that quite hard to listen to because it takes me straight back to that time of being at school and feeling almost quite ashamed. I'm Maisie Adam, comedian, presenter. It says occasional footballer here, but I feel like I can't say that given some of the company I'm keeping today. Welcome to Made for This Game in Conversation. And I've got a proper dream team with me today to help us unpick how we support teachers in navigating these massive and often quite awkward but vital conversations we need to be having with young girls and boys. We've got Helen, Akil, Matthew and the legendary Rachel Brown-Finnis. It's like the Avengers but with more whistles and less lycra. Let's be absolutely honest about this. It doesn't get easier when kids hit secondary school because, I mean, I'll be the first to say I don't know how I would have navigated school today with things like social media, things that are not real or reflective of real bodies and real experiences. And I would say now, you know, as a grown woman, I and many of my friends still sort of experience body confidence, insecurities. So if we find it tough, imagine being 13 today and having to navigate that world whilst your body is changing. So it's incredibly important that we teach young girls and young boys, but to be comfortable and confident. We're going to hear a clip now from a student who's navigating that exact time right now.
Me and my friends get changed for PE in the bathrooms instead of the changing rooms because we don't want anyone to see us.
Some people in my school are really judgy and I worry that they're gonna judge me when I'm running around.
When I'm on my period in PE, I feel quite restricted in case something happens, like I leak.
When I get changed for PE, I really hate it because it's just one big open space, and it's especially bad for swimming because you have to take all your clothes off to get into your swimming costume, and sometimes I pretend I'm on my period so I don't have to do it.
I find that quite hard to listen to because it takes me straight back to that time of being at school and feeling almost quite ashamed. You know, we can now sit here as adults and go, those are all totally normal things for your body to be doing, but it can feel like an absolute minefield for the students and also for the teachers. What's your experience of that, Rach?
Yeah, it's in a school situation. If someone's sick on the floor, you know what's going to happen. The caretaker will be called and there'll be sawdust put down there. If a girl suddenly comes on the period unexpectedly, when I was at school as a pupil, when I was at school as a PE teacher, there certainly wasn't a set protocol in place. What I did as a PE teacher was every start of every new school term, new year sevens, I would tell them, I'd say, look, my name's Miss Brown. If you come on your period, then there are always sanitary supplies in the PE department. So as much as me telling my year 7 girls, I think we should be telling the boys about this, and we should also be telling them in primary school. And it's not something to be ashamed about, and it's not something to be ridiculed. And again, that generally comes from lack of understanding, lack of education about a subject that's been around for forever, literally.
And we see it at the top. I think it was Leah Williamson and Beth Mead that sort of led the campaign, but about not playing in white shorts on the field. And you were saying the other night at a game, a player came off after 15 minutes because that had happened. And it's like, if that's happening at the very, very top and there's such little understanding as to why would it be a problem to play in white shorts? Well, if you've got 11 women on a field statistically, that is just a bad idea. It's objectively a bad idea.
It's so hugely important that at secondary school, where girls will come on the period at a time that they're not expecting to, and we will deal with those. And on a daily basis, we're sort of dealing with the first time that girls have come on the period. There needs to be so much empathy and understanding, and I can't say that's something that it's not lived experience for me, of course, but what I can do is inform myself, ask if they're all right and make sure that they're looked after and feel looked after. Those reasons why we shouldn't go play a football match that night or the night after a fixture should be whittled down by everybody involved in that situation so that person feels that they can and should.
And of course, it's not just exclusive to having a period that is making young girls feel very, very self-conscious. Body confidence is a barrier, especially during those formative years. The teenage years are so challenging for many young people. But Helen, what do you see day to day, and how does that sort of affect young women?
I think in primary schools, girls, so if they've had a negative experience at primary school, just coming back to some of those comments that boys may have made to them, not having a supportive environment at primary school, that's a habit for life. So as a secondary school teacher, trying to change those attitudes in terms of body image and their self-confidence is really challenging. Conversely, if they've had a really positive experience, they're likely to carry that on throughout life and beyond education. So for me, that manifests itself in girls not wanting to change in front of their peers. But I think the body confidence is such a massive thing, and social media has driven quite a lot of this.
So what can teachers do to tackle these anxieties that young people have?
I think, just coming back to what Rachel said about periods, it's about being that safe person to go to. And I guess the other thing is, for me, is what they're wearing and how confident they feel in their kit. And I know there's been lots of discussions about how our clothing makes us feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Akil, you do lots of work focused on self-esteem and body confidence with young people. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have again, one of our curriculums of learning for our girls groups. One of them is called Unapologetically Us, and it's about giving the young girls that we have the pleasure of working with the tools to feel empowered, and to talk about these things openly within the classroom, about periods, about a whole range of different things that young girls experience. As a male practitioner going into that space, I think it's really, really important that when I go into that space with curiosity, and it's something that I make quite known to the class initially, I'm really curious to learn from you here. And I think a lot of girls want to be involved in football but don't necessarily want to be involved in elite football. And I think giving the girls that we work with the spaces for them to feel like we belong.
You said then, as a male practitioner, I think that's interesting to bring up, and I'd like your thoughts as well on this, Matthew. But do you think sometimes there is an uncomfortableness for trusted male adults to know the right ways to go about these conversations with young girls?
They're important conversations, aren't they? And
Yeah.
the intention has to be absolutely right. And I don't think people should be entering into those conversations if you need to inform yourself, making sure that you understand as best you can what they are, what young girls are going through and their experience is hugely important. And that sense of belonging is so crucial.
Yeah.
And particularly in spaces where traditionally, a generation ago, girls wouldn't necessarily have been. It's so crucial that we do everything we possibly can to break down those barriers and that we normalise those conversations, because we're all human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just interesting to know kind of if you can see a trusted male educator or teacher also feel comfortable enough to discuss body confidence. I think it just helps normalise the conversation. I'm thinking, even just as a kid, my dad wouldn't go and buy tampons,
Right.
Because he would find it too strange, and I always found that really odd, because I thought the cashier's not going to think they're for you, Philip. But anyway,
At the school I was teaching at, the all-girls school, the head did a pupil voice for PE kit, and so he said about everybody wants to feel good to go and participate in school-branded kit, but there was options. So if you wanted to, you could wear cycling shorts, or you could wear football shorts, you could wear sweatpants, you could wear leggings. That was a solution that felt the girls felt empowered to make their own choice, but it's still within the boundaries of school uniform.
well, let's pick up on that actually. Of you're right, kits and clothing, because you of course as well played at a time where you were in. Did you
Men's
just play in
kit.
the men's kits?
Yeah.
And that must have affected how you felt playing.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't think about it at the time initially because it's just what you had and there was no visible option. So when you did start to get the women's kit, you're like, oh my gosh, as if we've been swanning around in men's kits for so long.
Yeah.
But I think also on kits, when I was teaching PE, it was really important to show different athletes of different body types. When decisions are being made about whether someone feels sporty or not sporty at such a young age, by primary school, to pigeonhole yourself and to feel not good about PE by such a young age is really sad.
Yeah.
So to showcase all the different opportunities of sport is not just netball, hockey, football, running.
And all
It's
of those
lots of
different
others.
body types and that diversity, that's almost, I think, at odds with what we find on social media, which does have a very, very hard and fast sort of rule of what is optimum aesthetic, I suppose you'd call it. I mean, you must see this all the time, Matthew, as a head teacher now in the schools. How do we battle that constant comparison, that constant striving for perfection?
I mean, social media is a huge conversation, isn't it? And I think the algorithms have got so much to answer for in a lot of the platforms. We're talking about things like misinformation, and we're allowing students to know with confidence where they can get their news sources from. Because, you know, the numbers of hours that young people spend staring at a screen and scrolling on a screen are terrifying at times. And what we need to do as a society, not just schools, not just educators, is have a good conversation about that to find a healthy balance between, yes, it might be that there's a social element to being mates with your friends and, you know, texting them or whatever, but actually what aspects of your life, what percentage of your life has been spent staring at a screen that is effectively feeding you the information it wants to feed you. We tackle it through the right way, through the curriculum, outside the curriculum, and we need to do that. And a lot of that is through opportunity. And we've got our Year 7 and 8 girls football team on a Wembley tour now. And when they arrived on the train,
Is that how you got out of school today?
they got on the train this morning, and some of them not been on a train before, and they got down here and they saw the arch, and it was the first time they'd been quiet all day, all the way from the north of England. They're amazing, and they're amazed because this is real experience, isn't it, of things that are out there, and you don't get that from staring at a screen.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone. And to everybody listening, you don't need a massive budget to change the game, but I think we've all heard, especially at the start of this record, the importance of having those figures in your life that can vouch for you and tell you that you belong and encourage you to take part and to encourage that equality on and off the playing field. Massive thank you to Rachel Brown-Finnis, to Helen, to Wakil, to Matthew. Thank you to all of you for listening. I'm Maisie Adam. This has been Made for This Game in Conversation. I'm off to practice my keepy uppers. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.